Leadership is about connecting. If there's no connection, there's no real leadership. John Maxwell wrote a book called Everyone Communicates, but Few People Connect. Wouldn't the work environment be a better place if people spent more time trying to connect? As a matter of fact, wouldn't the world be a better place if people spent more time connecting? Can you imagine how many marriages would survive? How many families would come together? How many schools would thrive? Don't get me started on politics. There is extreme value in connecting, and we'll come back to this later. I've had a lot of great mentors and still have some who add tremendous value to me today. One in particular is a guy named Jeff Duden, who was on Undercover Boss. When I first met Jeff asked me, he said, DeAngelo, why? Why do you wake up each morning? Why this mentorship thing? Why do anything at all? Why? I'm sure he was surprised by my answer. I had already given this much thought. I said, Jeff, if God gives me a long life and there's no impact, that was a waste of a life. But if God gives me long life and I have impact, I will be ready to meet him. So Simon Sinek is right in his golden circle. You have to start with why. Simon says that most organizations know what they do, which are the products and services that they sell. He says that some organizations know how they do it, and this is what sets them apart. But very few organizations know why they do it. This is your purpose or your cause. It's the very reason for your organization's existence. Simon says that people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. So let's put this to the test regarding my purpose. I believe I exist to serve by impacting lives. I even have a personal why statement. I am literally fulfilling my purpose in front of you right now. This is what I was born to do. Now, doesn't that make you want to listen to me a little bit more than you did earlier? Absolutely. So what's your why? Friedrich Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Here's what I'd like you to do. Please close your eyes. What's your why? Why do you wake up each morning? Why do you go to work each day? Why do you do what you do? Please open your eyes. For some of you, there was a blank. For others, you were dissatisfied with your why. And for the rest of you, you have a compelling why. Now, for those who drew a blank, don't worry. We're going to prime your pump today. For those that were dissatisfied, don't worry. We're going to bring clarity. And for those of you who have a compelling why, we're going to strengthen it more. All right? And we're going to do this by discovering what it means to become a person of influence, by discussing John Maxwell's book, Becoming a Person of Influence. One of my favorite books, by the way. So to become a person of influence, we need to understand the nature and power of influence. Influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character or development of someone. I'm a grad student studying social psychology, and there's an entire subject that we study called social influence, which observes how people influence the behaviors and beliefs and attitudes of other people. So influence is a real thing. It can change the fabric of society, literally. Therefore, there's no better time than now to raise up good leaders. John Maxwell says a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. And he defines leadership as influence, nothing more, nothing less. It's that simple. But there's a difference between influence and manipulation, force, intimidation, or all forms of manipulation. Influence is win-win. It's a positive impact on the character or behavior or a change for the better. Manipulation is win-lose. It has no regard for betterment, character, no regard for the person. It's all about itself. At the core, it's self-interest and self-gain. It may be helpful to think about influence and manipulation as two sides of the same coin because it requires the same tools. Influence is like heads, manipulation is like tails. Think of manipulation as influence in the wrong direction. But there's a great distinction between influence and manipulation. It's the different intentions that are at work. One has good intentions and the other has bad intentions. It's important to note that an abuse of influence is an abuse of people's lives. So since leadership is influence, let's try to get an idea of how leadership starts. Imagine a compass And at the center of the compass is where it all begins. We call this self-leadership. So the first question that you have to ask yourself is, would I follow me? And if there's any hesitation whatsoever, then we need to do some work. The first person that always needs the most work is ourselves, right? Before we can influence anyone else, we have to work on ourselves. We can't lead anyone else until we do that. South on the compass represents positional leadership, which is the lowest level of leadership. Sadly, many people equate titles and positions to leadership, which is incomplete. Webster's dictionary even incompletely defines leadership as a position, place, or office, or title. But if you have no influence, then you have no leadership. You only have a title. That's why positional leadership is the lowest level of leadership, because it can be held without influence. At this level, people follow you because they have to, not because they want to. East to west is what we call peer leadership. This is a lot higher level of leadership because at this level, people follow you because they want to, not because they have to. It takes influence to get them to follow you. North is influencing the influencers or leading up. This is the highest level of leadership because at that level, there is no reason whatsoever for people to follow you. You have a track record, proven reliability. People know that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. You get results. Influencing the influencers is where you begin to make a real difference in the world because you're now reproducing leaders. But remember where it starts. Truett Cathy says the number one reason leaders are unsuccessful is their inability to lead themselves. To lead yourself, you have to be continually developing, reading, and growing. All right, so John Maxwell identifies 5 levels of leadership. As we discovered, positional leadership is the lowest level when it's based solely on position. But it grows higher to level 2 as you nurture relationships with people. As we start developing relationships with people, they give us permission to lead beyond the limits of the job description. Then as the team becomes more productive, our work progresses to the production stage, which is level 3. This is where production is happening based off of good leadership. Level 4 is where we begin to develop people and help them reach their full potential. This is called people development. Lastly, as we devote ourselves fully to the development of people to their highest potential, we're able to move to the 5th and final stage, which is personhood. Typically, this is reserved for someone who has chosen leadership as their life calling. In the same manner, there are 4 stages of influence. People don't just come off the shelf influential. It grows in stages. The first stage is model. This is where we get the idea of role model. Many celebrities fall into this category. If people perceive that you're positive and they admire you, then they'll appoint you as an influencer in their lives. So the first level model is about doing. It's about being the representation. The second level is motivating. This is someone who exudes personal encouragement. They're always encouraging people. Have you ever seen somebody like that? I'm thinking about a guy named Mike. They're always modeling and motivating. You become a motivational influencer when you connect with people and communicate on their level to encourage them. The third level is mentoring. This is where you pour your life into other people. Your goal in the mentoring stage is to help those whom you mentor reach their fullest potential. The fourth and last level is multiplying. Now, this is the highest level of influence because you're influencing influencers. At this final stage, you're helping others become influencers to impact other people's lives. Now, everybody has the capacity and the potential to start this journey, to become a person of influence. And we can look at the characteristics of an influencer by looking at the word influencer as an acrostic. The I represents integrity. Now, integrity is one of the most important things.